She is now. Hello, and welcome to another scene in Changeling After Dark, where the lovely little satyr is spending some time with her forced host. It'll be fine. Nothing can go wrong. So, Morin has definitely given Pepper some time to calm down and relax and just kind of become more at ease with the situation. It's been a couple days after the automaton showed Bambi to her room. It was just kind of like, you can stay here, you can wander around, just please don't go into any of the other rooms. You can go into the forge if you want, but if it's a plain wooden door with a golden handle, please do not touch that. But you can go into any of the other rooms. There's not like there's anything to hide here. It's boring anyway. And if she hadn't left her room, the automaton will bring her food and water, to the front of the door, just kind of gently knock, say, "Hey, it's out here," and then walk off. Because when you're dealing with a scared little animal, you got to do what you got to do. You got to lure them out. Take some time. Or at least that's what the automaton was doing.
It works fairly well. She will stay pretty damn skittish initially for the first day or two, though she'll eventually adjust to this is her room. He knocks. He never comes in unexpectedly. She would have even been polite enough to ask if he minded bringing her meals to the room. And look like she might shake to pieces if she had to actually come out initially. But yeah, with time and, just kind of general care for the fact that she seems to be the way she is, she will get, more and more comfortable. Eventually getting to the point where she goes from residing in there with the door shut to residing with it open. And yeah, I mean, she's got 572. She probably has the Perryton somewhere. Who knows where he's been stabled? She doesn't.
The Perryton has been enjoying his time with the the cockatiels.
Yes. Oh my god.
With the dino cockatiels that have kind of taken over this island now that the dragons aren't really here anymore.
Oh my god, that's fabulous. I regret nothing.
The Perryton might come back just screaming.
I accept this.
It is what it is. So, on about the fourth or fifth day, give or take, Morin will kind of walk up and she will gently knock on the door. Even if it's open, she'll just kind of stand there and, well, she won't knock on the door if it's open. She'll knock on the frame.
Yep. And is there a chance that there would have been books around for her to poke through or anything like that?
Definitely. There are some books in that room for her if she wishes to read them. They're not the most fascinating, and they are clearly very, very old. They mostly talk about the she history, things of that nature, some wars. Then there also looks to be another book, but it talks more about the kind of antics of notable she and even some notable entitled commoners, actually, against this one creature by the name of Sarissa.
It is probably more than likely that she's taken to that one just because it's less of a history book and more of an adventure. But yeah, she will handle the book very, very delicately because it is very, very old. And yeah, when Maureen comes and knocks, she'll, flick a glance up from the book and very carefully probably put a piece of ribbon in it or something from her hair, really, and set it aside. Oh, Hey,
Hello.
sorry, I've been a bit of a shut in.
It is understandable. It is not like this is done on the best of terms.
She'll, leave her up from where she's sitting, probably on the edge of the bed or something. I'm just not used to being away from home for very long.
As I said, completely understandable. No one enjoys being away from home for such a long period of time. But sometimes sacrifices must be made, and unfortunately, it seems you were not the. It seems you were the one who had to do them.
I'm sure it'll be worth it. She does her best to, kind of brave face it, perks the ears the tiniest bit.
Follow me.
Mm-hmm.
She will turn around and start heading off to her forge again. Um, Tell me more of this count and of your other party members that were here.
And for what it's worth, it's kind of funny because as much as Moirin is not necessarily an established safe person in her head, um, the building is much bigger and much vaster and also not safe. So she'll find that Pepper actually comes up and walks fairly close. Not like all up in your fucking purple circle close, but sticks pretty near. Oh, I don't know too many of them too well, except for rides. And after the unleashing, he was kind of out cold. Um, but he's a very good friend. Yeah. She reaches up, kind of rubbing at the back of her hair. He'll probably have been livid when he woke up. He's he's protected me for a while now and takes it very seriously. He would never have let me do this if he'd been awake. But he's loud and big, but he's a very good person under it. And he's loud and he's coarse and he's harsh because he has to be. The others, Frigrar, I've only seen a few times, but is a very cheerful troll. He's always. I don't know how he sounds so happy all the time, but he does. It's like everything's new and exciting and an adventure. And it actually was really nice before you came into the hall with all those paintings on the wall. He was telling me bits of the story, things that weren't there, like their names, other things that he remembered and had been told. He even held me up so that I could touch the higher pictures. It's very kind hearted. I don't. With the others, I can say that Karina has. She has done me a kindness before and is kind of savage seeming, but as far as I can tell, has a code of sorts. I don't. Reds probably knows her better than I do. But she's, bolder than, like, Count Titangel would be. Can be very. He can command a lot of attention for the sake of it, but she's more straightforward with it. I don't know Kincaid that well either, the red cap, but um he scared me when we first met. I had never met a red cap before. And it occurs to me now but he meant something different than I understood at the time. But he he bent down with all those teeth and asked if I was on the menu and scared the daylights out of me. But ever since, he's been kind of kept himself away from me, and I didn't understand until just before they all left. He was trying to do it for my sake, I think. Um, I don't know the Pisky well. I know she says a lot, and I don't appreciate all of it. And Titangel seems to believe he's the stuff that stories are made of, and he gives generous things, or what he knows will be perceived as generous things, but I don't know that he gives things that truly make any value to him. It's. She kind of scrunches her nose. I don't know if you remember, like old timey kind of human things, but like back in the days where having a horse could mean the difference between going to another village or knowing that you'd always have to stay home. To a lord, giving away a horse may mean nothing because he has so many, but he'll know that to a peasant that he gives it to, it is something of incredible value, and it will put them in awe. And I think that's what he wants. I'm not saying that he has been unkind, but he does like to be the center of attention. And I'm still confused as to why things went the way they did. He said that it meant so much to him, that it was important to him to save all these people who were struck ill. And I thought surely when he handed you the sword, he meant to give it. And I don't know why he decided, I know it's beautiful, but putting a sword before the lives of hundreds and hundreds of people. She just kind of shrugs and shakes her head. I didn't have much to offer compared to that, but it was worth giving anything I could.
She will stop walking when Bambi said that she had nothing worth giving, and she'll slowly turn and look at her. Can't remember. How tall is Bambi?
She's 5 foot and some fond thoughts of being taller. She's not especially tall.
Fair enough. So, nah, I gotta remember that +6 though. Yeah. Okay, so she'll turn around and just kind of look down at her, unfortunately.
I mean, that's her lot in life. She's used to it. Even the people who love her look down on her. Height is a thing.
um, but she'll say, out of everyone in that room, you did something none of the others did. That none of the others seemed to even think of.
I just thought, who wouldn't want to be understood, especially when he spoke to you and he said that somehow the things that he had suffered meant he understood yours. And that's just not how it is. No matter how much a person suffers, no two people hurt the same way or for the same reasons. And this is what I can give. I don't have things, but I feel like this is more important.
Yes. It. Not a phrase. Oh, it's a phrase. That is a good question. For him, who spoke so nobly of sacrifice and of doing what he must for the people, do you not think that when it actually came time for him to sacrifice, that he suddenly lost all will and premise to do so when he realized that he would actually have to sacrifice something?
It's a lot easier to say that you will do a thing than to do it.
Indeed.
And I feel the things that he has maybe called sacrifices before were things that it didn't hurt him to lose. It just looked noble. Maybe he's never really, truly lost something. I don't know.
More than likely he hasn't. But I suppose it is what it is. He's a she after all. And unfortunately, some of them are so incredibly vain. They wish the good views of the commoners, and yet don't ever actually wish to do anything for the commoners.
I wonder sometimes if it's as hard for them to understand what we would want as it is for us to understand what they would want.
You do realize why that is, correct?
They're completely different lives.
It's a little bit more complicated than that. While I personally have not been out in quite some time, I still have kept myself up to date with the more important things that have gone on. One of them was this thing called the changing way, if I remember it correctly, where the commoners, in order to survive, merged with a human. Correct?
I mean, like I am.
Yes.
Then yes.
And how that soul is there. You all have some semblance of humanity, correct?
I think a lot of the time I know her better than I know myself. I don't know myself very well at all.
Most she don't merge with the soul. We remove the soul, kick it out, so to speak. They can't understand you as well as they could simply because they have no spark of humanity.
She used, for what it's worth, especially the idea of ousting the original soul, just kind of is taken aback, almost looks kind of hurt by the idea.
Those she who stayed behind, primarily of House Scathach and House Liam, they underwent what you did, what the commoners did. They have merged with the human soul. All of the other houses didn't. And have you noticed that House Liam and House Scathach are always the outliers of the houses politically? Even Baelor is more welcomed in some courts than a Scathach or a Liam.
I admit I haven't had much chance to see it myself.
There would be your reason. They stayed behind to watch over the commoners when everyone else fled. Of course, it is best that you do not go around telling others of all of this. It could cause quite a riot.
She nods, kind of that obedient, like thoughtless little nod, but comments, um, potentially out of turn, just in a way you could almost say they earned their humanity if it was something you valued, which I do.
They did.
It was a
That they
humane
did.
reason to stay.
Hmm. To watch over the other commoners, as is our duty, instead of running, which is why I found it quite hilarious when Faragrar started screaming about all of this and that and the third one. In actuality, he should be screaming that to most every she meets.
I
But
think you just didn't understand what you said. It sounded worse than it was.
don't get me wrong, it is. I don't care for the autumn world, what you all do there. I have my lot in life. I do what was given to me. I am content. If there is plague out there, I will make sure it does not encroach into what I deem my territory and those who I watch over, so to speak. There are enough she and enough commoners and enough ennobled commoners out there in the autumn world that they can deal with whatever is out there, leaving me to my own duty. After all, the autumn world holds nothing more for me.
It seems it's probably a silly thing to say, but it seems like a shame.
It is. There used to be a time when I did everything I could to help. And then I was made a fool. And that was that.
But why?
Because one who spoke of sacrifice in the end did not uphold his end of the bargain.
I don't see why that should fall on you, though.
It didn't fall on me. It fell on the shoulders of someone I held very dear to my heart. And they ended up dying for it.
She wears a sympathetic expression, not pitying by any means, just sympathetic expression very openly. I'm sorry. For what it's worth.
I am as well. At least I have their murderer kept here.
Do you?
Yeah. There was a time, it was a very small period of time, quite some time ago, where Naga decided they didn't really like us. I wonder why. And would raid any cities that lie near water, which is most of them, considering Ireland is an island. We took up arms, and the Naga held powerful relics, powerful treasures. I was commissioned to create one, a scepter, which is how I lost my arm and my eye. I was told that in exchange, my daughter, who had been captured by these Naga, would be safely rescued. The valiant hero I gave the scepter to would go and, well, destroy the Naga in the way, so to speak. And in the end, they didn't. and she was killed by their head witch, I suppose, by the name of Sarissa, a blind naga with whitish scales.
Why didn't he save her?
He was too busy trying to get all the glory he could. And in the meantime, in the midst of his boasting and not heading and charging straight to the point which was the original plan, he decided to hold back and try to fight with the line to, well, gain more favor with the commoners. And so all of the prisoners were slaughtered in that time. Every last one of them.
What happened to him?
He got all the glory. They saw it as valiant and noble and an unfortunate sacrifice that he could not make it there in time, when in fact he had plenty had he followed the plan.
And nobody else got it wrong that he held back when so many died because of what he did. Did they just not know?
There were others who were upset, but his voice was louder and his favor was larger. And of course, in the way of politics as that goes, he won the ears of those that it really mattered to.
She just kind of adopts this. Admittedly, her even her most severe expressions aren't especially, so it probably looks as much like a pout as a frown. What's wrong?
It is the way of the world, unfortunately. There will always be those she who wish and speak that they know of sacrifice, and in the end don't actually know anything about it and simply want more favor and others to look good upon him. I believe there are some commoners like that too, but it's not as rare. They don't really have an ego the size of a she's.
And that's why talking to him made you so angry.
He was an insolent child. Wished to play games, offer things, and then snatch them away, saying they were waivers, insulting me in my own home, trying to rouse me into this wager, which I have no doubt he would have cheated at. He seems like a cheater.
And at this point, I'm not sure I'd put it past him.
Anything to win and look the best.
It seems like such a stupid thing to worry about when it could mean the difference in so many people living. And she'll, very tentatively, and she's, by the way, will make a point every time they're walking together of walking on her good side, where she has an arm and an eye to see her with. She'll just kind of reach out and, very gently, like, touch the close arm. Um, Not grasping it or anything, just, a very, very light touch on the side of her arm that can be readily shrugged off. Even the loss of a few people isn't worth showboating and making yourself a hero. It just makes you the fool in the story.
Her eye will kind of flick down to where Bambi was touching.
She'll kind of pull the fingers back. They hover a couple inches away, like, ooh.
She doesn't seem all that upset. It's more of like a, what kind of moment? Like when you,
The what are you doing?
yeah. Because I mean, okay, they've been in isolation for who knows how long.
Yeah.
They have no humanity whatever, so to speak of.
That's fine. She's measuring it out. She kind of, when the look goes down, tentatively pulls the fingers back, but not seeing any anger there. We'll kind of reach out and touch again. It's not meant to be rude, just I feel like there's some things that are easier said with gestures like these than without them. If you don't want me to, I'll stop.
It's fine. Now, to speak of your gift, she says as they finally manage to get to the forge. We'll walk in. I'm thinking a circlet, perhaps.
Pardon?
Your gift.
Why would I be given a gift?
Because I am the maker of gifts.
Oh,
And you did a noble sacrifice. You've put your life on the line, staying at, well, an island with an always constantly active volcano with a woman you've never met before who, well, made most of you kneel. So every noble sacrifice, in my opinion, should come with some kind of gift.
I'm sure I'll appreciate whatever you decide to make.
I'm thinking a circlet, and of course, such a circlet cannot go on the head of just any commoner, of course. So, she'll turn around and look at her because previously she was just kind of perusing through all the different assorted metals she had, trying to see what would be the best to make this out of. And she'll turn around and just kind of say, "So, how would you like to be my knight?"
What? She just, it's really the dumbfounded, like, what face.
Did I not make myself clear?
I I understood the words. I just um I had never thought of myself in that kind of position. Are you sure that's what you would want? I'm not a fighter. I'm not what people expect of a knight. I don't know what would be expected or how to do it.
Not all knights have to be fighters. Sure, perhaps in the medieval sense they were. Do not get me wrong, but times have changed. Not everyone fights, but she still hand out titles like they are candy. And so I thought, why not do it myself? Usually there was this long process, squireship and everything like that. But as I said, one of my circlets cannot go on the head of just a commoner, after all. So this is as much for me as it is for you. And at the same time, I suppose it would be good to have someone to wear my hair to wear my heraldry and announce that I shall be returning soon.
Are you? It's kind of comical. She perks up a little bit. The ears kind of flick up. The little butt fluff even gives like a tiny wiggle.
It seems as though something is going on, and it is about that time where once again I must venture out into the world for at least a year or two to catch up on everything. Bes-
Oh, sorry.
Besides, you. Unlike that you at least know what sacrifice is. Giving something of yourself in order to help others is the part of the greater good. You don't try to worm your way around it with wagers.
Wouldn't be much of a sacrifice if it didn't mean giving anything up or getting something for myself.
Exactly.
May I think about it? It's I had I had thought to take some of my friends with me who were very new, even newer than I am, to this, and most of them don't remember. Like me, they know the people that they've bonded to more than they know themselves. And I imagine that if I were still to join them, wouldn't it say something bad about you if I was your knight and still with a group of commoners?
I don't really care.
Oh,
Of course, you may have all the time you wish to think of it. It is not. It is a burden, certainly.
then can I ask you one more thing?
Yes.
Would it make you happy? Even just a little bit. Even for a stupid reason, would it make you happy?
She was reaching up to grab an ingot of kind of this weird brownish earth looking metal, and then she just kind of stops. And she turns around, looks at her for a moment before going, I am going to refrain from answering that merely because that should not influence your decision.
I want to peony the fuck out of her.
Okay.
I don't know how well that's gonna work, but I'm gonna try really hard.
Okay. Let's see, because she is definitely gonna.
It's only 2 successes. So I imagine she's schooling her expression on that one.
See, where'd the dice roll? Oh, I don't want to roll in the FRO chat. That would be bad. Oh shit, I do gotta take into account. No, that's just charisma. Is it manipulation too? Shit.
Which one? It's usually manip subterfuge.
Mm-mm.
Or I have no idea what you're doing, but
The. The. Dang it.
things.
Oh, snap.
Oh snap, you say.
Yes. Variance. Oh, snap.
Yeah, as she turns about to answer, she's her own expression is very open, though she is looking, kind of studying to see if there's even the faintest hint of amusement or anything else, like just trying so hard to catch even the tiniest hint.
Okay. That's charisma. Yeah, it's manipulation. That's the different one. They have different ones for these things. Sorry, she's got a couple imbalances.
She's got some things going on.
Those bedlam thresholds, though.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know.
It's bad.
I all I know is apparently it makes you cray cray. I literally know nothing about what it does.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Um. She failed her manipulation subterfuge roll. So. Okay. Um.
How's she feeling about this question there, buddy?
Hmm. She seems more stunned more than anything that someone else would be concerned for her happiness. So it did kind of catch her out of left field.
And in response to the verbal reply, she'll say, "If you think that's wise, then we'll let her go back to picking through things." Though she trails reasonably close. Like she's at this point giving her a bit more of a berth, like proverbial elbow room, so that if she takes a couple steps back after doing something, she's not going to trip on the satyr. But she's kind of hanging around and watching because this is a craft she doesn't know, like most, and she's kind of interested.
Okay. For the most part, she just kind of walks around her forge. She'll pick up the ingot. It kind of looks like an earthy brown, woodish color of a metal. It's really odd looking. And she'll set that down. She'll also go through, she's got a ton of various colored gemstones in various shapes and sizes. And she'll kind of go through, and then she'll just look over at Pampy. She'll say, choose one.
Like, she'll, clippity clop a touch closer and, very politely keeping her hands to herself, like that kid who's been told too many times we look with our eyes, not with our hands. Does that thing where you lean over, but you even go so far as to kind of twine your fingers behind you so you're not tempted.
Mm-hmm. But you don't even try to breathe on that stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. She's trying so hard, and as she glances over this ludicrous collection, just kind of, with awe in her tone, it's just like, did all these come from the volcano?
No, not all of them. As a matter of fact, choose 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, she'll look over and probably end up kind of, depending on you said the metal was a brownish tone.
Mm-hmm.
So probably favoring greens. Um Actually, yeah, certainly favoring greens. We'll make a bit of an assumption and find two of a very similar tone, that's maybe a softer or muted kind of green, and then one that is a more vibrant, very lively, like very saturated green. potentially even making sure if they're a variety of sizes, if that's even part of the process, the saturated may be just a touch larger than the other two, or she may have in fact pulled out fairly small ones for the other two because she doesn't want to overextend the offer she's been made.
Hmm.
But yeah, she'll definitely favor those kind of spring greens.
She'll nod and then just kind of gesture to the anvil where she set the ingot and just kind of gesturing of like, yeah, go put them over there.
And she will be a good little gopher, and she will she will carefully pluck up the three if there's some cases they're in or anything. Very very reverently pick these up and trot over and very very gingerly set them beside the piece of ore or the ingot and kind of glance back over, starting to make her way back. Little trit trot.
She has now moved to something that looks it dominates like the entire wall of this thing, but it just looks like alchemical reagents. There's like feathers, there's jars of like red liquid, there's jars of like purple liquid, all sorts of colors. There's a couple hearts, a couple eyes, like a whole bunch of stuff. It looks so just creepy, honestly. But Bambi can kind of remember to create a treasure, you need magical reagents. That's why they needed, her hammer and stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
she's just kind of perusing through them. And then she'll just kind of stop. And you can hear the tink, 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 tink as the automaton is running, actually, into the forge. And she'll just, as they both hear this, because everything here reverbs, because it's just massive and echoey, it'll swing open the door and it'll just say, "You might want to see this." So she'll just kind of look over and she'll nod, and then she'll make that motion to Bambi of like, come along, little dear friend.
Yay. I'm like an escort mission.
Yes.
And yeah, let's face it, both for especially the gemstones, because ingots aren't as dazzling in their base form, but definitely for the gemstones and then for all this alchemy stuff, it's such blatant awe and wonder. She's a childling and it's so obvious. So obvious. It's like, this is amazing. And yeah, the ting 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 and the message and all. Yeah, she even kind of slips up a little closer, like ready to follow, essentially. Whereas she was giving a little more space before.
Yes. So they go, and the automaton leads them down one of the alleys that has, or one of the hallways that has the doors with the gold knobs on either end, at equidistance apart, just going on and on forever. And they'll stop outside one door, and this door is ever so slightly ajar. And we can kind of remember, this looks kind of similar to the hallway that Rides came out of. But I mean, like at the same time, all these hallways look pretty identical.
I mean,
regardless.
They all look the same, and Rides cheated and piffed right into the middle, so.
That's right, yeah. Yes. So they'll open the door, fully, and inside there's just a very bland metal cage, and the door is open. And then she gets really, really quiet.
I'm not gonna lie, in light of what is in the room and everything, Bambi's probably kind of huddled half behind her. Like, has just enough room to peer around her at the empty cage, and then glances sharply around the room, like, what if it's still in here? And then looks up at her as she gets very, very, very quiet and still.
She'll look down and over to Bambi and just kind of say, "It seems I am leaving earlier than I expected."
What was that?
This. This was where that Naga witch was held.
Oh. She's gonna shrink back just a little bit. Still, actually kind of does a paranoid glance even behind them into the hall, like, is it gonna get me kind of thing. She doesn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm. It's not out there, though. There's nothing else. Everything else is quiet. Of course, Pepper can hear kind of like the kind of grumbles and occasional screaming from some of the other rooms. But for the most part, everything's just really quiet. As she was told, this place is just a really big prison. Um, and she'll just kind of ever so slowly nod again. Okay.
There will be a moment there where Bambi kind of looks up, and it's a question she already knows the answer to, but all the same, after that awkward silence, looks up. Are you okay?
In time. In time. Well, I suppose it is what it is. The deal was sworn for 1 month, and so at the end of this month, we shall venture out once more. Or should I say, you shall venture out once more, and I shall go along.
Okay. I'm sure you'll be able to get her back again. Or do whatever it is you need to do.
We shall see. Tell me more about yourself, she'll ask as they're walking back to the forge.
About me?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what there is to tell. Lately, I've been working in Tintagel's castle, in the library there. It doesn't seem like he's been in for lifetimes. And so long as I'm getting the pay I need, and now I'm getting a chance to look through all these books, I don't mind it. Um, Other than that, I spend most of my time with my friends, with the people that I know, with the people that are safe. And I know don't mean any ill by me. I still remember her more than me, and I enjoy the same things she does. We go and we dance with the people that she knows. We go to these parties and we do drink, but never in but so much excess, and we dance. And it brings us great joy to be able to do that in a place where you know that people won't reach for you, won't do anything that's unexpected, that you can be vulnerable and be real and show how you feel and take simple joy in simple things. There are so many amazing things, even just in your forge. There are many amazing things that I can't even put names to. I just try not to forget the smaller things. There's something more precious in the smile of a person that you truly care about than there is in the greatest treasure that I've even seen in the dreaming. Because if I could never look on the treasure again, I would have seen it once. But if I could never dance again, or never see a friend smile again, they seem like such small, simple, and easy things, but they mean so much more.
She nods and says, I will not lie and say I can completely understand that, because I can't. But I can understand the sincerity in your words.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, she'll motion for her to continue.
The only thing I can think to compare it to, and I don't mean to make it sound like a small thing, but for example, I'm sure that seeing your daughter smile again would be worth more to you than everything in this fortress. It's like that.
She'll just kind of pause for a moment. And she'll just nod. You're right. You are completely right.
And she'll take to kind of chewing sheepishly at her lower lip as she continues to follow along, because that is almost too real a thing to say, so she doesn't want to follow it up with something to potentially make it go from being a valid point and a bit of insight to being something that sounds almost, I don't know, any less sincere.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. And from there, she just works on the forge. She grabs a lot of the reagents, like 5 or 6, possibly more. As she really got to working, she was just a flurry, and so everything kind of got mixed up. Mostly because I do not know how many arts I will put on this thing, because it shall be a masterwork treasure that takes a month to complete.
Jesus Christ. For what it's worth, Bambi will at least do her best to be very helpful and very attentive while she's there.
As she notices Bambi kind of paying attention and watching, to kind of circumvent teaching, a commoner blacksmithing, she will instead just talk out loud, saying what she's doing, what this technique is called, what this is, what, these are called, the technical terms for this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she's you know, it's not quite as sincere as, like studying her every motion, but she's trying to pay attention and at least be good company, and the conversation actually helps. So yeah, she will take some interest, and again, doesn't seem especially like she wants to throw her hands into it, but is just interested in her work and will ask, like questions here and there. Will be happy to learn, what the various tools are called, what the various techniques are called. She would probably never be able to replicate them herself, but at the very least, she can keep a polite conversation going about something as impersonal as, smithing and working.
And in turn, she will ask some more about the kind of parties that she goes to, what the best drinks are nowadays, even the kind of music, actually.
Here's a question. Do things like cell phones come into the dreaming?
I mean, okay, they can, but they're not really gonna work and it's not gonna be pretty.
Oh dear. Noted. I mean, good to know. I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she apologizes that she's not more of a singer. She definitely prefers to dance when she knows that a place is full of people that care. She loves to dance, but singing not so much. But she'll talk about the various kind of music. She will teach her about the fact that the bass does drop and it's amazing. And admittedly, she's not a musical scholar by any means, but she knows what she likes and can describe various styles. She will do her best and even go so far as to describe different instruments that may well have come out long past her descent into the far dreaming. But yeah, she will talk about it. She will I imagine that at some point she will try to explain and then show her what the moonwalk is, because it is absurd, and I imagine she wasn't even around then if she's been here so long. But yeah, we'll happily exchange bit for bit. And as they, especially if this is going to become a thing where they're doing this daily, they're going into the forge, she's working, they're talking, we'll open up more and more over time and make more personal notes. And so it's easy to say that Moira will come to understand that she cares very much about Rides as a person, holds him very dear to her, if only because he has been, since they met, the stalwart protector, and with the insight into the fact that there are, just as there are nightmares to counter dreams, as many good people as Pepper may know, there are as many dark intended people out there, and she has a tendency to catch their attention and catch their eye, and it plagues her. And Rides is kind of like, I don't know, he's essentially her hero, because when he's around, these things don't happen. A lot of the kind of people who are willing to try to sleaze up to her just aren't willing to come anywhere near Rides, and should they, well, they've been put through walls and the like. So she'll learn more about the fact that she knows Rides very well. She'll hear about this little satyr who cooks and who has been ever so doting. She'll probably even hear about the Boggin Manny and his how funny it is that he whenever he's nervous or anxious, he cleans. Like, And just she goes on, and will actually tell her a good bit about the people she knows, the relationships she has with them, again over the course of the month, like to the point where it's believable that Moirin has probably gotten very close to even getting a hold of the information about her chrysalis. She probably hasn't given the details, just that something very very bad, something that was very upsetting happened that night, and this little fawn, the only one that she's ever met that's shorter than her, hadn't even chrysalised when they met, but did her a great kindness and took her in and comforted her and helped her find her center again after this happened and she didn't understand before she was found by someone who could explain, at least, give her the crash course in what was going on, which is probably rides, honestly.
And in exchange, she will begin to open up a bit more as well. Was kind of talking about her life, how she was kind of a warrior smith of the court way back when. She actually comes from Ulster, and is very appalled to hear the state of Ulster now. But she did. She was the king's smith in Ulster. Had to, after all of that, she left. When she first came out into the dreaming, she didn't really know what she was doing. She just, in a fit of sheely rage, just kind of bolted out in the dreaming. Was like, "Fuck you guys!" Where she came across a band of roving Eshu, and they were like, so some of these chimera, they ain't pleasant, and they kind of really hurt, and like they killed Billy over there. You don't know what
Poor
happened.
Billy.
And so she kind of took up a position of a bodyguard. Of course, they didn't say that because, bodyguard, a lot of people just kind of look down on bodyguards and just kind of like, oh, that's a lesser thing. And of course, she's a she in the dreaming, so that it was already that +3 difficulty. And so she more was their protector until such time as they managed to leave as well, and they went to where they were going, and she was once again without cause, without anything to do. And so she wandered around a bit more, couldn't really find a good suitable place for a forge, so she was starting to get a little sad that she hadn't crafted anything. And then this creature who wore a black robe and its face was hidden by a silvery mask that was very floral and nice, kind of went up, spoke to them in a layered voice that had, it ranged from young feminine voices to like old feminine voices, and, male young voices, and then, all of that, pretty much like the voice of everybody kind of layered on top of it in one. So it's like hella trippy. Kind of came, spoke to her, and was like, hey, so I know the location of this place that would be great as a forge, and it's kind of already set up too. If you want to go over there, any kind of powerful evil creature that you see, you gotta take there with you as well and keep them as a kind of prisoner. That way the dreaming is a bit more safer than it should have been. If it's not easily killable, or it goes into dream form, or it uses that other read, I think it's dream form, that even if you kill the physical manifestation, you can't really kill it because it turns into like this weird misty shit. If they start doing that and you just can't get rid of them, take them over there, put them in a cage, just guard them, make sure none of them get out. And on occasion, go back out into the dreaming, leave your forge, go hunt some more of these things down, etc., etc. You do this, you'll have this nice little forge. It'll be a cool setup. In her anger and not wanting anything to do with the autumn world, that's what she did. She won't really get too much into the details. She did have a wife at one point and did adopt a daughter, but of course the daughter did die. She doesn't really say what happened to her wife either. That detail is really she just mentioned, "Oh, I had a wife," and that was really about it. Um, Kind of like that until the end of the month when she finishes the treasure. It's a beautiful, very elvish in design circlet. So lots of nice, smooth kind of circles. Well, not really circles, but like so. And like in the Lord of the Rings, the little circlet that what's her face was wearing, the nice silver one, kind of similar to that with a whole bunch of kind of line or strands that were kind of woven throughout each other to create this nice like gilded band and everything. It kind of dips down towards the front, and that one big center jewel, the big vibrant green one, is there, and so it'll hang, kind of between her eyes in the middle of her forehead. And then the two smaller ones were kind of centered about an inch above, so they're kind of placed a bit on her temples almost
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Let me quickly copy this in here. You mean like this one, or is it a different one? Because I'm trying to remember them.
Yeah, it looks like that one, except it doesn't have the it
The
doesn't have
dingle
that.
dangles.
Yeah, it doesn't have the dangles. No dingly dangles. But like
No.
right in the center of that forehead is, or in the center of the forehead is the gem, and then kind of off towards the other sides are the two gems, of course, equidistant from each other, so it looks all nice and pretty. And it is it's kind of an earthy brown color to kind of go with the whole, satyr thing.
No. And yeah, by the time the thing's done, I mean, even seeing the whole process, there's just something about, when you finally finish the thing and you hit it with a buffing cloth and you've got it really done. She's still, this whole time, it doesn't matter that she's been there for a month. There has probably been something each day that she has, you know, caught her eye on or seen that has gotten, the giant hazel eyes. Oh God. Because she is never at a lack for the ability to find awe in something. And yeah, on that day, it will definitely be the finished circlet when it's, fully done and actually like buffed and polished to a finished product. And she just stares at it. Just, it's straight up like museum distance stares at it. I know that I've been here the whole time, but it's still amazing that you can make these things. She kind of, especially if she chuckles, she kind of looks at her and it's that very mock serious face because they should be comfortable by now. And it's like, I mean, I have trouble making cookies. This is way harder. Just to kind of see if she can pitch some humor in there and it'll get picked up.
To be fair, it isn't like I don't have trouble crashing those, but it was easier with you around.
Beaming smile. I do try to help where I can, and I'm glad that I could help.
And I am glad that you did.
And I hope that the company hasn't been, she kind of grins. I'm trying.
Certainly not. And after that, the two of them will head back out into the dreaming, returning once more to the lovely autumn world. Dun dun dun.
I'm free to assume that she will say something along the lines of like, I don't necessarily know everything it'll mean, and I don't know that I'll be good at it. But if you still want me to be a knight, I'd try for you.
Most certainly.
I can at least promise to try.
And I shall try to once again be a good duchess to the knight.
Again, just beaming.
She will then, once, once they get out of the dreaming and it's not a, +6 or a +3 difficulty, they're probably walking up to the changeling market at this point. She'll bow and she'll say, "My Lady Bambi, how wonderful it is to have you as my knight."
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not sure. I feel like it'll kind of first shock her and then straight startle a giggle out of her, because that is perhaps the most expressive she has been after a full month. And I just can't imagine that she wouldn't find some way to show some little bit of delight in her managing to pull out some proper, like, some ability to express herself a little more and even kind of make a joke of it by calling her, Bambi.
She tried. It was a lot easier now that it wasn't a +6 difficulty.
Oh yeah, it delights her to no end.
Okay. And that shall be that. Unless you want to open it to a social, because they are walking into the changeling market.
Oh sure, I'm willing to throw it out there and see what happens. Why not? Pure
Oh.
chaos.
Nothing can go wrong.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh boy. We'll see how this goes. Oh no, it is kind of late though. Peeps are probably asleep. We shall see how it goes. Yep, so they're just kind of walking around. Only about a week has passed, but the changeling market is starting to look not so nice. There are even less people than there were earlier.
And I will say, for the sake of saying, that at some point over the course of the month, I don't know how much Moirin was ever interested in the story painted on the wall, but Bambi will happily share the thoughts that she and Fragrar had on that and its likeness to the current plague, and the thoughts that perhaps somehow the puka and the plague are amplifying each other, maybe, but that this is, when we get back, it's going to be like this, and it's going to be quieter, and it might be a bit of a shock compared to the normal, but It's because so many are ill, etc., etc. So she gets to see firsthand that, and even Bambi will seem kind of taken aback, at least briefly, in just how much even a week has changed things.
Hmm. Um, like it's not really deserted per se, but it really does seem like for the sake of everyone's health, no one's really come out to the market. There are still a couple of those more brave souls who are just kind of like, yeah, okay, it's whatever. All the sick, scaredy people, are out, but we're tough. We got this. Who have opened up their shops. There's not many. There's a couple people walking around doing what they can, what little amount of shopping there is to do, but most everyone's really closed up shop. Um, she'll just kind of look over and she'll actually say, "What is the current state between the commoners and the nobility, actually?"
I think, in part, it depends on the noble. There is a knight that is working to keep the sick alive, and while I don't know how well he's following through, Tangel is making it very clear that he intends to do away with this plague, and it's hurting us, not them. There will always be some who are better than others. There are some places it would be more shocking for you to go, but the others walk the market freely. And she'll even point over to the, what is it, the stuck pig or something like that? Whatever he calls that tavern. And
Yeah, like
he
the
goes,
roasted boar or some
the
shit.
yeah. And even there, Tangel goes regularly. The Boggins don't seem to mind. A lot of us form our opinions on what we see and what is actually done compared to what is said.
And what's been done versus what's been said.
The knight is trying. Karina is striking back in ways that we recognize. Tangel says much, but I think until they see that it has been dealt with, that it is being dealt with, they see real evidence, there will be some doubt. But it's not as though they've condemned us. The only one who said anything that I heard was bad was what fucking title does she have? Baroness or something? Raven?
I think she's just a knight.
Is she?
Let me see.
I don't freaking remember too many titles.
Right? Like everyone's got them. Let's see. Yep, title 2, she's a knight.
Oh, is it what is the Sir Raven or whatever it is?
Usually for the women, it's a lady. Some can go by sir if they want, but it's either sir or lady.
Yeah, so she'll spout off her name because she doesn't know her well enough, or hasn't really met her properly enough that she would just toss around her first name. She made some comment on the field, and I know the commoners, the ones that heard it, the ones that heard of it, aren't very fond of her. But all in all, kind of like you said, it's about seeing the deed done. That's what matters. In the end, you can talk and say anything you want. Words are cheap. But in the end, it's what happens. Tangel does or has come down to the market before, giving away dross to the common, because many of us are, well, she kind of gestures around, suffering, even if not directly. So it's about the gestures we actually see that make an impact. It hasn't gotten bad, except in that, well, again, she kind of gestures around. It's just bad. There's this, and there's the war with Baylor, with what is it, Leinster or Ulster or wherever the fuck.
Yeah, Ulster.
Yeah, it's the plague, and then the war with Ulster. The two together has been very hard.
Hmm. I see. Hmm. Suppose it is what it is.
I'm sure you'd be fine. I know that you don't make promises you don't intend to hold to. So long as you do those, so long as you remember that even the common are people. Simple people, maybe, but people. There should be nothing wrong.
And to be fair, you all are people. Perhaps more so than we are.
The faint kind of smile.
Since it doesn't look like we're going to really get anyone for a social, I'll go ahead and end it here because I realized I probably should go eat something.
You probably should.
I'm just lazy. Thank you for joining in this little adventure scene, which went on a little longer than I was expecting. But that's what it is. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin.